Let's start with field goal kicking. How about it? If you know me in my career, I have been anti-field goal kicking for years and years and years. I've been doing this for 50 years. And I would say a good 35, 40 years ago, I started in on this kick, if you will, because it kicks me in the stomach, if not in the midsection, again and again and again. I just don't like field goal kicking. It's too gimmicky. It's too cheesy. It's too Mickey Mouse. I mean, we got this upright that somebody came up with, and we're going to kick the ball off the ground through the upright, kicked by somebody who doesn't actually play football, and they are going to win and lose a whole bunch of National Football League as well as college football games. They're going to impact the scoreboard, and they couldn't play football if their lives depended on it because they're not actually football players. Starting with Justin Tucker, who's supposed to be the GOAT. I think I got the GOAT in Dallas now, and Brandon Aubrey. He just hasn't done it as long as Justin Tucker. But I hate field goal kicking. I wish we'd just abolish it, eliminate it in favor of keeping punting. I like punting. It's strategic. They're much more athletic than the field goal kickers. You need the punting, but on field goal kicking, you should just have to go for it. If it's 4th and 4 from the 28-yard line, just keep going for it. And then if you get down and you score a touchdown, then you go for 2, which is a much more exciting play than the point after, starting with the point after today. Justin Tucker, regarded as the GOAT, has completely lost it because it happens to the best of the field goal kickers. It's the weirdest phenomenon in all of sports. It's akin to golf, and I do play not a lot of golf, but I am obsessed, addicted with golf. And I know the golf swing, and it's a lot like, as Tom Landry taught me back in the day in Dallas, the golf swing is much like the field goal swing of the leg. And he taught his kickers just the way he would teach you to swing a golf club. All the rudiments are the same. The ABCs are the same. And yet, as you know, golf, if you lose it in golf, you just flat out lose it. You can be in the middle of a round of golf, and it's mystical that you just... I've lost my swing, and I can't. All of a sudden, you'll start to shank. You'll start to hit it with the hosel. All of a sudden, Justin Tucker, the quote-unquote greatest kicker ever, has completely lost it, and he ruined the game of the year in the NFL today. It was Eagles at Ravens. I picked the Eagles before the season started because I just thought they won free agency and they won the draft. Are those two corners any great to you? I mean, my God, Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, they're just the two best corners in the draft. And Howie Roseman somehow finagled getting both of them. And he got Saquon. And I've not been the hugest Saquon fan, but Saquon took the game over in the fourth quarter because the Ravens were kicked in the stomach. You can't tell me if Justin Tucker just makes pretty routine kicks that we don't have a barn burner. We might be in overtime right now in Baltimore, but Justin Tucker kicked them in the you-know-whats. He kicked them so hard because he's the last thing that you thought would go completely haywire for the Baltimore Ravens, who I also picked to win the AFC. So this was my Super Bowl preview today, and obviously in my prediction, I didn't think that Justin Tucker would go south, even though he started to fray a little bit. He started to show a few signs of weakness last year, and then starting this year, you can just see the wheels come farther and farther off until they fell off today. The wheels fell off. I think that Baltimore, and they almost certainly won't because they're a very conservative, tradition-based organization, I think they need to go get a new kicker. I know they pay him a lot of money. I know he's been there for them through thick and a lot of thin. He's made a lot of big kicks. He's bounced back to make kicks after he's missed kicks. He's lost it. And once a field goal kicker loses it psychologically, it's virtually impossible to get it back. You have to recycle. Could he go somewhere else? Could he wind up in, I don't know, Cincinnati or somewhere making big kicks? Sure, he could. But you need a change of scenery because he has completely unraveled psychologically. And once the field goal kicking demons get a hold of your psyche, you are a nightmarish disaster unfixable. The Ravens need to go get a kicker to salvage the rest of their season because that game was lost by the kicker. Obviously, they go down and score fairly early to go up, which should have been 10-0. And he clanks the extra point off the left upright. So he hooked that one. And then we come back in the third quarter, 10 minutes left in the third quarter. He's got a 47-yarder to put them up 15-14. And he hooks it wide left. So he's got the hooks going, if you know the golf swing, not duck hooks, just hooks. He's just hooking it left of the upright. The first one, the extra point, caught the upright. But now we get to 1:26 left in the third quarter. And what happens? The GOAT pushes it from 53. The first one was from 47. This is from 53 yards, and he pushes it right. It wasn't a slice like a banana slice. He just tried to overcompensate, and he pushes the kick that's going to put them up 15-14 wide right. And you could see the whole Baltimore bench just crumble. They're crushed. They're devastated because the guy who doesn't play football, who couldn't even play safety for them, has lost the game for them. Those are 7 crucial points with the extra point that should have made it slight edge to Baltimore. And then the defense loses heart, and Saquon just took over in the fourth quarter. And you can't tell me that the ultimate culprit, the GOAT of the game, if we can go back to the old school definition of GOAT, which is the guy who lost the game. He went from GOAT as greatest of all time to GOAT of the game, as in that guy's the barnyard GOAT who lost the game. He lost the game. It's hard for me to read that much into the game because of Justin Tucker. He ruined it for me as a fan. He ruined it for Ravens Nation. And he definitely ruined it for the Baltimore Ravens at home. And again, I've told you, Philadelphia has the best defense in pro football. I'll stand by it. I thought that going in this year, and to hold them, they scored late, obviously. And Justin Tucker almost missed the extra point late that didn't really matter. But that last second, it was 3 seconds left. They got they tried the onside kick, but he pushed it again way right, and it barely snuck inside the right upright. So I take nothing away from Saquon. He broke loose in the fourth quarter because he will. He keeps hammering away, and I keep telling you, I never saw this Saquon in New York with the Giants. That guy was all whipped cream. He was more of, I'll hit an occasional home run, but I'm not going to do the dirty work. I'm not going to grit, and I'm not going to grind. If the hole's not there, I go down, I give myself up. I saw a guy once again today who started to make his own holes, who started in the fourth quarter to wear down a very good Baltimore defense, especially at home, a defense with a lot of pride. It hasn't performed to a high statistical standard this year, but that defense is very good just because of his experience and its grit and its guts at home. And he flat out wore them down and wore them out after the kicker had kicked them in the stomach. And once he started to break loose, I forget what he had total in the fourth quarter. I know he lost yards on his last carry. I think he wound up, Tyler, is this right, 23 for 107? He got 100 yards. He went over 100 yards against the Ravens defense in Baltimore. That is pretty great. Jalen Hurts didn't throw the ball a lot. He did not have Devontae Smith, which I think was a big loss. Yes, I got those numbers exactly right. Jalen Hurts threw for only 112. He did hit AJ 4 or 5 big times for big catches, but it didn't manifest to big yards. But I thought Jalen handled the ball very well. And trust me, Jalen makes Saquon even better because of Jalen's threat to take off with the ball. What did he wind up with, Tyler? Jalen Hurts. I think he had 4 or 5 big key carries in the game that made possible the later Saquon carries because you have to honor him. He's not Lamar, but he's very physical, very durable, very tough to get on the ground once he gets up ahead of steam. What Jalen wind up with? Running?
For 29 and a touchdown.
Yeah, 9 for 29. But what was his long run? Didn't he have?
11.
He had an 11-yard run. He had 2 or 3 runs that were key in that game, and obviously some tush-push runs. Bucks win. Way to go, Baker. I'm happy. That's a great outcome because now Baker Mayfield and the Bucks, who had a late drive for a 50-some-yard field goal to send that game to overtime after it looked like Bryce Young had clutched up as he always did at Alabama. I'm still a big Bryce Young believer, but the Bucks, right now I'm watching Baker congratulate Bryce. Baker is big-time clutch, and they just won a game that now ties them with Atlanta at the top of the division. I'll get to Kirk Cousins in just a moment because he's a basket case. He's a disaster. I knew he would. I've always told you he would be. I'll get to that in a moment, but now the Bucks have climbed up. Am I right, Tyler? They're tied. I think they're both 6-6 with Atlanta at the top of that division. Way to go, Baker. I'll get to that in just a moment. My biggest takeaway from today was I'm going to put a big asterisk besides the Eagles win because of Justin Tucker, but that defense rose and shone again today for the Eagles, and their run game is very special with Saquon and Jalen. I picked him to win it all this year. I'm a Cowboy fan, lifelong diehard, but I just couldn't help myself. Jerry fiddled while Dallas's Rome burned, fiddled around as Nero fiddled, and Howie Roseman won Executive of the Year. How can he not be Executive of the Year for winning free agency and the draft? Tell me I'm wrong. So I got the Eagles showing you again why they're going to win it all.